Thank you for joining us here on Republic TV, ladies and gentlemen. Our Aravali campaign continues. In fact, on the live report today, we are getting you a map not seen before, a map that will help you understand the Aravali threat and why we here at Republic and everyone who's speaking out on Aravali continue to raise questions on what really is going on, the different layers and the different parts of Aravali that are now opened up for mining. We have a map that puts it in context. The map was part of a warning that was given to the government on why Aravalis needed to be demarcated. That has not been done. We have that and more coming up. Here are the headlines on Republic, on the live. Did the government ignore the amicus warning on the maps and the buffer zones on the extent of damage to the Aravalis? Republic getting you an exclusive report.
नहीं कह रहा भाई मैं सर राधे बदमाशी करो नहीं बदमाशी नहीं कर सर आपसे एक सवाल है भाई अरावली को लेकर हरियाणा का क्या स्टैंड है प्लीज तो धक्का मत मारिए सर कोई नहीं मेरे पता मत आगे से जबरदस्ती
Haryana Mining Minister escapes from the Republic TV cameras, dodges any question on the Aravalis. Watch him run. Former BJP MLA, rape convict Kuldeep Singh has been granted bail. Who's shielding him? And why are the victims and survivors even now being hounded? There's massive anger over the Delhi High Court decision to grant Sengar bail. The Unnao survivor, while protesting at the India Gate, has been picked up physically. We'll show you the pictures. Picked up physically and taken away from India Gate. Eight people injured, 2 killed as protests turned violent in Assam. Ladies and gentlemen, on the live report, today we're getting you the Aravali warning, which is on record. It's in paper, it's in black and white, and it's extremely serious. The court-appointed amicus curiae had flagged large areas. They said that large areas of the Aravalis were on the verge of losing legal protection. Slopes, which are an integral part of the mountain system and the Aravali range, risk being erased from protection altogether. They warned about it. In fact, the amicus had warned that while the Forest Survey of India, or the FSI, had taken only the right slope into account, they said that the Geological Survey of India has not backed Rajasthan's position. They said it on record and on document. But the Aravali boundary, and I want to go to show you the map, but let me tell you, the Aravali boundary and the buffer zone is now being pushed to a grey zone. What does that mean? That means buffer zones could now become vulnerable to mining. It's on your screen right now. They could lose protection entirely. The new definition doesn't just redraw lines, it puts entire stretches of the Aravalis at risk. And that is why the amicus had made it clear in a centrally empowered committee report, mapping the Aravali boundary is essential, they said. Because under Rajasthan's definition, the Rajasthan government definition, only hill peaks above 100 meters are protected. Everything else, the slopes, the buffers, the ecosystems that hold the range together are left exposed. We have the map. The map is on your screen, ladies and gentlemen. And the centrally empowered committee report shows this map. Let me put that map on the wall and explain it to you. And this map which is on your screen right now, right? This is what the definition is. And you see this is part of the map that is published in the centrally empowered committee report. So all the amicus involved in the case, this is what they warned the government about. You'll see that as per the definition, as per what the Rajasthan government said, now these were the only areas that were being defined as the Aravalis. The original definition of Aravali makes sure that all the green cover, the original boundary is here. The green line that you see The green line is the original line. If you can zoom this out, because these are protected, the hills are protected, but the buffer zones are not protected. The green cover under the new definition may not be protected. That's what they had warned. They had warned that while the hills, part of the hills may be protected, they warned that the green cover, the outer boundary that includes the buffer zone may not be protected with the new definition, which means if you look at the area that is taken into account, over 50%, and some estimates put it at even 90%, saying over 90% of the original Aravali boundary may be vulnerable for mining, except the hills. The buffer zones could be opened up for mining. We'll demarcate it a bit more in a short while from now, but they warned about it. And I want to go across and get you Shambhavi. Shambhavi is joining us live. Shambhavi, this is a map that sort of gives us an idea of how much of the hills can be exposed to mining. The buffer zone, which is now vulnerable to mining, right? People have been asking the government how much is vulnerable. There are small figures given by the government. I think I saw somewhere that the government says that 0.19% is opened up for mining, but the truth is something else on the ground. When you look at the original boundary, the buffer zone is also now vulnerable. That is the fact on the ground.
Definitely, and such meager figure has been coming up from the government's end. You very rightly mentioned 0.19. There was also somewhere mentioned 0.22. So this is the figure that they're saying that only 0.22% of the Aravali hills is exposed to mining, and according to them, this is allegedly a step that has been taken to make sure that this illegal mining is stopped, or there is controlled in a way, because according to them, this has been going for a very long time, which is true, and this step is going to just streamline the process, streamline the mining part. And there was also a very feeble attempt made by the minister explaining how that 100-meter will be calculated when it comes to the size, measuring the size of the mountains, that how the breadth part of it, the lower triangle, the lower broader part of it will be considered as a part of 100 meters, and how even earlier, as per when this new definition was not proposed, there was also this part of the Aravali that if there are any two mountains in the entire range and there is a plain in between and a couple of very short mountains are there, even that will be considered as a part of this Aravali range. But now this exposes, this decision, this acceptance by the Supreme Court exposes even those parts to mining. And you were mentioning the buffer point. So in reality, we can see now three different stories. One is which is being presented by the ministers about how just less than even 1% of the Aravali hills is being exposed to illegal mining. The other story is the people that have been telling us, the people who have come on the streets. Even yesterday, there was a huge protest by the Rajasthan University students, and they were protesting. They've come on the streets, and there was this kind of warning from their end that some step has to be taken to rectify the situation. And the third story, the real story, which Republic has been bringing to you, showing the ground reality about how in almost all the villages before Republic reached, there was illegal mining going on to some extent under the garb of a legal lease. There were several illegal activities going on. So that is definitely the ground reality. Niranjan, back to you.
In fact, we tried questioning the Haryana Environment Minister. The Haryana Environment Minister, my colleague Lalit went to him, tried to ask him about the illegal mining that is happening in different parts of Haryana. And we've been able to show that on camera. In fact, where Lalit has been reporting from last few days, illegal mining is happening in different parts of Haryana, and they cannot deny it. We tried questioning the Haryana Minister. Here's what happened. I'm playing the sequence. Watch how Haryana Minister and his men push Republic's Lalit away. Take a look at the sequence when asked the question.
सर एक ही सवाल है सर अरावली को लेकर
नहीं कह रहा भाई मैं
सर अरावली
बदमाशी करो
नहीं बदमाशी नहीं कर सर आपसे एक सवाल है भाई अरावली को लेकर हरियाणा का क्या स्टैंड है प्लीज तो धक्का मत मारिए सर कोई नहीं मेरे मना मत खाना से जबरदस्ती सर एक ही सवाल है सर अरावली को लेकर नहीं कह रहा भाई मैं सर अरावली बदमाशी करो नहीं बदमाशी नहीं कर सर आपसे एक सवाल है भाई अरावली को लेकर हरियाणा का क्या स्टैंड है प्लीज तो धक्का मत मारिए सर कोई नहीं मेरे मना मत खाना से जबरदस्ती सर एक ही सवाल है सर अरावली को लेकर नहीं कह रहा भाई मैं सर अरावली बदमाशी करो नहीं बदमाशी नहीं कर सर आपसे एक सवाल है भाई अरावली को लेकर हरियाणा का क्या स्टैंड है प्लीज तो धक्का मत मारिए सर कोई नहीं मेरे मना मत खाना से जबरदस्ती
They're extremely uncomfortable because the truth about the Aravali mining, ladies and gentlemen, is on record. And the Aravali warning was on record, and it's serious. I have a map that I want to now show you. The court-appointed amicus curiae had flagged that large areas of the Aravalis are on the verge of losing legal protection. I'll show that map right now. And the centrally empowered committee said that the slopes, which are an integral part of the mountain system, risk being erased from protection altogether. In fact, they warned about it. Look at this. They warned that the lines in green, they said only this much would be protected. The blue line that you're seeing here would be protected. But they mentioned the buffer zone, the green line, and the lines, the Aravali range in between being at risk. The amicus had warned in the Centrally Empowered Committee report that while the Forest Survey of India, or FSI, had taken only the right slope into account, the GSI, or the Geological Survey of India, had not backed the Rajasthan's position. Rajasthan's position was that 100-meter definition should stay. And if you look at this, a 100-meter definition would only apply to the peaks, but not the buffer zone in between the blue line and the green line as shown in the report by the Centrally Empowered Committee. The Aravali boundary traditionally includes a buffer zone. The buffer zone that we are talking about here between the blue line and the green line. And that buffer is now being pushed into a grey zone. What does that mean? It means that buffer areas could become vulnerable to mining. They could lose protection entirely. And the new definition doesn't just redraw lines, it puts the entire stretches of the Aravali at risk. And that is why the amicus had made it clear, mapping the Aravali boundary is essential, because under the Rajasthan's definition, only hill peaks above 100 meters are protected. Everything else, the slopes, the buffers, the ecosystems that hold the range together are left exposed. And we have the map pushed by the Centrally Empowered Committee report. This is the map in the report. And let's see where the story goes, what the government says about this report, because the definition changes everything in the buffer zone now. And ladies and gentlemen, on the live report, a story that was broken by Republic TV yesterday, debated by Arnab at 8 p.m. on Kuldeep Singh, a former BJP MLA, rape convict MLA, who was, by the way, sentenced and tried only after Republic TV exposed him, questioned him, confronted him in the year 2017 and 2018. The survivor and the mother were forcefully dragged away last night while they were protesting at the India Gate after this rape convict, who was given a life sentence in 2019, was granted bail. Now, who's Kuldeep Singh? Many of you may be thinking, who is Kuldeep Singh Sengar? Let's show you who he is from the cameras of Republic TV, something that we've been able to report, record over the last eight years. I have the pictures with me, ladies and gentlemen, of how Kuldeep Singh tried to dodge the law for all these years. In the year 2017, Republic confronted, questioned Kuldeep Singh. This is Kuldeep Singh. We confronted and questioned him when he was a free man, when he continued to take on the survivor, to try to defame the survivor, try to target his family even before he was arrested, even before he was convicted. This was the situation. This is what happened in 2017 when Republic confronted him. I want to show you the pictures, the other pictures. Let me show you the other pictures. We didn't just confront him, we tracked him. Eventually, we made sure through our reportage and through our campaign, Sengar was eventually arrested. This is the moment where in Unnao, we camped for almost 2 to 3 weeks. And we reported on Sengar. And finally, Kuldeep Singh, the former BJP MLA, was arrested. These are pictures of when Sengar was arrested. Now, Sengar is no ordinary man. Sengar, while being arrested, while in jail, targeted the family of the victim. In fact, the victim's family was targeted. The father eventually died in custody. The father died in custody. These are not the pictures of the father because these are the pictures of the accident. Father of the survivor was targeted. He dies in custody. And then you had an accident, a mysterious accident. Let me go to the next set of pictures. The survivor, while moving in a car, is hit by a truck. The survivor is seriously injured. She battles for life in those years when Sengar was in jail. And then she's rammed by a truck and two of her aunts who are in the car with her die. So Sengar is no ordinary man. He's a very powerful man in Unnao, Uttar Pradesh. And when this is the case history of Sengar, convicted by the court, sentenced to a lifer, how is it that he was granted bail? Now, these are the questions being asked by the victim. The victim last night was at the India Gate protesting when she was physically picked up. The survivor was physically picked up along with her mother. We have the entire report. Republic TV was live. In fact, Ishan, my colleague, was at the India Gate when the rape survivor was physically picked up, taken away, detained in a van. And I'm going to go across to that sequence and then we'll go across to Riyanka. Here's what happened last night. Take a look at this. Is this how you treat a rape survivor fighting for justice?
Now forcibly removing the victim from the who has been protesting at India Gate. They have already removed the mother and social activist who had accompanied the victim, and now they are also forcibly removing the victim from India Gate Circus. Detaining, she is being forced into a CRPF bus. The mother has already been put into the CRPF bus. The victim seems to have sustained some injury on her shoulder while the victim now being dragged away by Delhi police officials and being put into the CRPF bus. The Delhi police is now forcibly removing the victim from the who has been protesting at India Gate. They have already removed the mother and social activist who had accompanied the victim, and now they are also forcibly removing the victim from India Gate Circus. Detaining, she is being forced into a CRPF bus. The mother has already been put into the CRPF bus. The victim seems to have sustained some injury on her shoulder while the victim now being dragged away by Delhi police officials and being put into the CRPF bus.
Riyanka is joining us live. I'm going across straight to her. She's with the activist who was accompanying the Unnao survivor. Riyanka, over to you. What's next? She spoke about moving the Supreme Court. When is that likely to happen?
That's right, Sita Ranjan, and as you can see in my background, Yogita Bhayana, the activist, she's of course speaking to the media, and we're expecting the victim and her family to arrive at this location shortly. And from here, it is likely that in some time from now, they will be moving towards the Supreme Court, as they had very clearly mentioned that there is no other option left for the family, and that they decide to knock the doors of the Supreme Court. And they have also said that they have full faith in the top court in order to, rebuild justice in this case, because it is, as in fact Arnab had also mentioned, that it is a mockery of justice that has been done at this point in time, because after so many years the case comes back into highlight with the fact that the Delhi High Court goes on to suspend the life sentence of the former BJP MLA Kuldeep Singh Sengar in this particular case. And what we had also seen from last night, how the family, along with the anti-rape activist Yogita Bhayana, they were all protesting at the India Gate circle, where in fact they were dragged and they were detained and they were not allowed to raise their voice. Also, it was a very, very silent protest that was being done. And we will also try and go ahead and speak with Yogita. She's a little bit engaged at this point in time, speaking to others. I will get that soundbite from Yogita shortly there, Niranjan, but at this point in time, what we are given to understand, some time from now, we are expecting that she, along with the victim and her family, will be moving the Supreme Court, and it is very much likely that they will be filing a petition challenging the order from the Delhi High Court.
Yes. And let me tell you, while you get her live, because there are some people, some politicians, in fact, who are openly coming out and saying that the court has said that Sengar can't come within 5 kilometers of the victim, right? Now, there are many people who are saying there are very strict conditions. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to show you a graphic while my colleague Riyanka tries to speak to the activist, because 5 kilometers did not really matter. We have a graphic, if I can put that out. 5 kilometers did not really matter because the victim's, when Sengar was in jail, the survivor's father was targeted and he died. The victim's father was targeted when Sengar was in jail. So 5 kilometers doesn't really matter here because the father of the survivor was killed, was targeted. The victim's car was rammed by a truck when Sengar was in jail. So obviously 5 kilometers order does not really matter. The victim's aunts were killed when Sengar was in jail. So obviously 5 kilometers order does not matter. The victim was seriously injured when Sengar was in jail. So obviously the 5 kilometers order given by the court did not matter when the victim was seriously injured when Sengar was in jail. And that is why it's bizarre when politicians come out and defend, asking why the victim is protesting in Delhi and that the court has given a specific order, etc. It doesn't make sense because politically someone is shielding him. Politically, Sengar becomes relevant once again, maybe in some part of Uttar Pradesh. Here is what some people are saying in the legal fraternity. Some reactions came in. Some defending the court, some openly questioning the court order. Here are some of the responses on the live report we brought this morning on the story.
Mr. Agrawal, how do you see the bail that has been granted to the Unnao rape case accused by the Delhi High Court yesterday?
That is permissible under the law. This is the normal routine. When court feel, when say the appeal is filed and court feel there are grounds to hear the appeal, then this normally they stay the operation of the lower court. In this case also it has been stayed and strict conditions have been imposed. So just this is not correct that people should blame the judiciary. Everybody has a right of appeal, and even after High Court, people convict can go to Supreme Court.
Mr. Agrawal, when you say that everybody has a right to appeal and it's a normal procedure in the court of law, similarly last year also in 2024, very similar appeal filed by the same accused was rejected. How come, what changed in 2025 that he was granted bail? Given the circumstances, we have seen how there is threat to life to the victim's family, the victim herself, how her father died, how the uncle of the victim is in a danger. So how do you think that the appeal, he has the right to appeal, and the same appeal was rejected last year but it got...
there is change of circumstances. When courts are not in a position to dispose of the appeal immediately, then suppose tomorrow in appeal court find that there was no justification of conviction. So to avoid that, and however time a person remain out, that will be not counted in the sentence. So he has not undergone that period when he was out. So everybody has a right to appeal, and court should stake when court feel there are grounds in appeal which can quash the conviction. The courts normally.
In fact, now a minister is openly asking in the Uttar Pradesh government, why is the survivor protesting? And ladies and gentlemen, a minister asking why the Unnao survivor is protesting in Delhi. It's bizarre, isn't it? Because she's fighting against her rapist who's been granted bail on conditions that don't make sense. In fact, she says doesn't make sense because a 5-kilometer order did not matter when Sengar was in jail and was still calling the shots. In fact, Sengar was also charge-sheeted for how her father was targeted and eventually died in judicial custody. Take a listen.
देखिए, कोर्ट ने इस बात को कहा है कि सेंगर जी पीड़ित परिवार से 5 किलोमीटर दूर रहेंगे, ऐसा कोर्ट का निर्देश है। तो दिल्ली में धरना देने से पुलिस ने जब उनको कहा कि अब कोर्ट ने जब इस तरह की व्यवस्था दिया है तो आप असुरक्षित कहाँ हैं? देखिए, कोर्ट ने इस बात को कहा है कि सेंगर जी पीड़ित परिवार से 5 किलोमीटर दूर रहेंगे, ऐसा कोर्ट का निर्देश है। तो दिल्ली में धरना देने से पुलिस ने जब उनको कहा कि अब कोर्ट ने जब इस तरह की व्यवस्था दिया है तो आप असुरक्षित कहाँ हैं?
One of our focus stories here on Republic TV, ladies and gentlemen, who's shielding Sengar? And why are even ministers making such statements for someone who's been convicted of rape? Continues to be a top focus, taking a short break. Coming back with how the Haryana minister was confronted by Republic. Question on the Aravali illegal mining. Environment Minister of Haryana going completely silent, being our reporter being pushed away. Look at how they pull Republic's Lalit. Darren, more coming up.